J. Edward Pulling was born in London on this very day 125 years ago, June 10th. After serving in the Royal Navy during World War I, and graduating from Princeton and teaching for several years at Groton, Endicott Peabody, the headmaster of Groton, and urged the boss to start his own school. And after marrying in 1928, he and my mother set out to do just that. How thrilled they would be to see the school shining so brightly today. My three sisters join me in saying how thrilled we are that the dedication of both Anthony House and Pulling House share this same momentous day. Bob Anthony has been a special friend of all Pullings, and most especially of our father. We four Pullings were all born during the 1930s. We all went to school during the war in a building which is probably now behind Anthony House. It was connected to our house. And the reason for that was, of course, none of you remember this, but there was gas rationing during the war. And we couldn't all schlep off hither and yon. So a teacher came to Millbrook every morning and taught all us fact brats. There were Knudsen's, there were Abbott's, there was Callards, and there were four Pullings. Let me tell you one or two things about two rooms in the house. The living room, which the school has graciously had reconstructed, so it's more or less the same as it was in the good old days, was the home of all kinds of events. One of the more humorous things about it was that my mother used to serve demi-tasse coffee to the faculty on a regular basis. And there was a lot of cups. And we had a cook named Sarah Sullivan who used to call them damn tassies. The living room was also enjoyed by many events of all students. Back then, pretty much the whole school could fit into the living room. And of course, the special event every year was my father reading Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol before the boys went home for Christmas vacation. The study, my father's study, which has also been replicated and now is home for John, had a couple of notable things about it. One was, if you were a student, especially if you were a naughty student, the last thing you wanted to be was summoned to the boss's office here at the headmaster's house. By the way, while my sisters were perfect, I too was summoned into from time to time. And so, the other purpose that I particularly remember was of that house. Every Saturday night, there was a movie in the barn. Every Wednesday afternoon or Thursday afternoon, the movie, which arrived in 3 or 4 or 5 reels back then, in very strong steel containers, would sit in the boss's library. Everybody wanted to know what the movie was. Daddy always kept the secret as to what the movie was, but the thought of trying to sneak in there, open one of those tins, of course, had they done that, they wouldn't have seen the movie, among other things that would have happened to them. But that was a big game way back when. My sisters and I got to see X amount of the movie, depending on our age. So if we were very young, we got to see the first reel, and we graduated to see the second reel. My sister Joan, by the time the war came along, was 11 or 12 years old, and she started to see the whole movie. That was a big deal in the Pulling family. I could go on, but I promised Bob, I've lost it. I think I've been cut off.
Are we working? Are we working now?
Not to worry. Can everybody hear me? So please join the Pulling family in saying Ave Atque Vale, the headmaster's house, and 3 cheers and welcome aboard to Pulling House. Thank you.